Down with colonial borders, down with French, Portuguese, English, and etc. as languages of Africa, down. Pambil with the unity of Africa, Pambil. Ninjan. Allow me to do right by those that give me these words. I was born in Litchfield. So I'm a Swata Sneta, but Litchfield Omaluta, so I call them, but Baba Mbega Slim Gakulu Velewati Mazamini take over in terms of culture. So allow me Ubizo Laminos Gula Sawaloba. Sinombo Malange. Malange Nilanga Izimvule Mnyame Sabe Mafini. Allow me also to call Lang Shateleko na O Tshabalala Linkonja Nezimhlophe Ezalele Mafini. When two people come together, even the ancestors come together. O Tshabalala ke bahamba nongwenya amatimanzi abahambi bodwa. So my spirituality at the moment, which is African spirituality, uses the elements of nature. So I've just done umhlaba. Allow me to do the water and the wind at the same time. Excellent. And can we ask one person or petty light that give us the fire so that the elements are complete? That's my light. Thank you. So now that we have done right, allow me also ukubonga ogogo. Uyabona thina banguni angazi abanye abantu thi ngikhulumele lemni culture niyaziyo. Asithi thokozani bomkhulu nabogogo, that's reversal. Sithi thokozani bogogo nabomkhulu, because we acknowledge ukuthi iAfrica la yasuka khona when it was still called Alkebulan by those who called it. The founders, the rulership of the continent was women, but it was never about power. That is why the book I'm writing, it's equity in gender relations. The word gender, power relations, silithola ku Islam ne Christianity. So allow me then ukuthi ngibabize ogogo. Angifuna ukubabiza ngamagama ngoba kukhona engizobashiya, kodwa there's one in particular ongichallengeayo uSaronia is Niger today, the Black Panther Queen. So allow me to call her forth so that abe nami. Angike, when Tando said send something, I had a difficulty because I normally do not. I just look at my topic and I collect my thoughts and I allow my ancestors to speak through me. So my words are forever on the dot, fresh. So record them, because if you ask me to repeat it afterwards, it will never come out the same. It will come out a different thing. So this is fresh. I think let me start by just explaining two diseases from which we all suffer. One is called cognitive dissonance. It is a mental, psychology, it's a mental state of frustration that happens when an individual holds two conflicting beliefs. Now, a lot of Africans, because we have been Arabized and Europeanized, cognitive dissonance is normal. And it shows itself in many ways, self-hate, etc., etc. But I just want to highlight one thing quickly, that each time I say a witch doctor, I suffer cognitive dissonance. Because ngempela ngesintu akuna ngakamlui. Akekho umthakathi mlaki. You are either a witch or you are a doctor. But they gave us this name so that they rubbish everything that have to do with African spirituality. So that when you look at it, you just say it's witchcraft kibulo. Another disease I coined in my PhD thesis, and I used Joy degree a lot. Please study that individual who say as psychologist. And he deals with what is called transgenerational trauma that Africans have suffered. Ujoy, D and then space GRUY. Don't say because you were not there at the point of colonization, you don't carry the pain in your DNA today. You carry that pain as those people suffered it because it is transgenerational. Azania see cut because we have not healed, because we are still under trauma today. Now I've coined it post-traumatic slavery and colonial disorder. I tell African Americans who follow me on Twitter, please, don't for a second think that because we were left in the continent, we didn't suffer slavery.
Yeah.
Sisi suffer more. Because those who've watched Roots, imagine Kunda's parents, they died without knowing who buried their child, what happened to the child. The Kundas were many of the time being dislodged from the coastal cities because of the slave raiders. The person who said our ancestors collaborated, if they did, why did they have a profession called slave raiders who literally came into the continent to abduct slaves? So what Africans were forced to do was uksuka from the coastal cities to run away from the slave raiders. So we were forced to get on top of each other. And the further in we moved, the further the slave traders were coming. Imagine being burned in a village. There's confusion. We are burned to death. Now you are 10 years old. My people are dead. Now it means it's a new identity. Funding Hambe to the next village. Man figure at the time of another attack. So we have suffered, African Americans, the same way they suffered slavery. But it's in a more so, as we came out of slavery before healing, we went into colonization, which we are still in it. We have never had a respite. African people have been in pain since 642 AD with the first Arabs who landed on our continent. So, the aim when I prepared was not to elaborate on the diseases. I was just supposed to highlight them and then move on to what I've called in my talk undertones of the message. So as I continue talking, please look for these things that I've called undertones. The first one, surprise, surprise, is by a German called Goebbels. You need to know that man, because he's the father of propaganda as they're using it against us. Goebbels says propaganda works well when the target of manipulation is under the false guise that they are acting out of their own free will. Yeah. Is that not the story of Africa? Yes. How did we come to post-colonial terminology when we never used decolonial? Since we decolonial, post-colonial. How do each generation, how are they called the born free, who are landless, jobless, no identity? How free are they? How did we agree to that terminology? Now, Goebbels says it works better if the objects of manipulation believe that they are acting out of their own free will. The second undertone I want you to think of as I talk is by Ubaba Nkrumah himself, and it is from his handbook on revolutionary warfare. He says to justify its policies, because they know it's rotten policies, to justify its policies, imperialism has had to resort to all sorts of propaganda types against the oppressed, highlighting and exploiting, I'm adding, there are so-called differences, because for me they are not really differences. Based on religion, I don't know why we are fighting about religion in the first place. Mama Africa are spiritual people. It's a talk for another day. The difference between spirituality and religion is like north and east, they will never meet. But okay, they use that. That's why in Nigeria there are 3 wars going on now, and one of them is based on religion, and it's Boko Haram. So they do that against us based on religion, based on color, who's lighter, who's darker. I've never understood the black skin is the most beautiful skin. Sometimes I am not proud that my father was colored, because I so want that navy. You know, the skin is navy blue. That's the most beautiful skin you can ever have. But they exacerbate those differences where the lighter skinned ones think that they are better than the darker skinned ones. And another undertone, this one is very important, is by a Polish woman called, her surname is Tylus, if I'm pronouncing it right, T-Y-L-U-S.
That's right, ma'am.
Yeah. Oti, and talks about culture. Oti, the role of culture in development has been misunderstood thus far, because it has only been relegated to social development. She says, on the contrary, culture is the apex of economic development. All nations that have risen and become great nations have done that because they have a singular unifying culture. The culture is clear, E1, they are united. Look for that undertone as I talk. The last one is mine. I say the word legal should not scare you, because the word legal in Western terminology has never been synonymous with ubuntu or humane. In fact, in Western terminology, the word legal, whenever you see it, please think of illegal, because they say yes to say no. So those are the undertones I want you to remember as I talk. Then I want to define 4 things quickly. The first one is time frame. I argued in my thesis that Africans shouldn't count time as Abelungu count time, you see. They have BC, which is before Christ. And then some of us call it BCE, before the Common Era. And then they say AD, Anno Domini, after Christ. We say CE, Common Era. But for me, even then, we shouldn't count time like that. Because Tina, we never had the Dark Ages. They are our Dark Ages. We only had Dark Ages. So, I want to link quickly time frame to development. See, there are only 3 races on earth. The rest are nations. Let's not confuse ourselves. You have the Mongoloid race, that's the yellow people. You have the Caucasian race, that's white people. You have the Negroid race, that's Africans. Now, who was the first to civilize? It's very easy. There's a civilization called Kush. They don't deny it. 8,000 years BCE. 8,000 years. Those who calculate can calculate how long ago this is from today. Remember, BC was a countdown. AD is counting up. So we are now in 2018 AD from 180. There are 8,000 BC Kush, the first Kush, because it came again as the second Kush. And then you have Kemet, which is 3,100 more or less. Now, Tina nabo Diop, nabo Obenga, nabo John Henry Clark, we argue that Kemet didn't just descend. It's not possible for any civilization to just start and excel as they did. Yeah. It was birthed by somebody, and it is Kush that birthed them. Yes. But they will not agree that Kush birthed them, because if they agree to that, they are then saying that we were the first to civilize. Yes. Because Kush, without doubt, is where South Sudan is today. You can't mistake it. And then let's look at their civilization. The first time they come on the map, that's why Abu Farah Khan and Abu Khalid Mohammed called them Johnny Come Lately. Yes. The first time they arrive on the map of the earth is the Greek Empire, 800 BCE. Can you subtract 8,000 from 800? So who civilized white people? Us. White people walked on 4s like dogs and animals. They didn't even know why. Person must stand and walk. They didn't know. That is why up to date they've got schools, rubbish really for an African, called a finishing school, to be taught how to sit, how to walk. That's why umlungu makahamba ubona ukuthi bahamba so. Uyabona ukuthi no azange afundiswe. Yeah, because they civilized yesterday. Yes. They are not natural people on the earth. Yes. They are born by climatic default. It's a fact. Yes. The second most populous continent, despite Ma'afa, despite colonization, despite the invention of HIV. By the way, I have a 15 slides on how HIV was invented. It was invented for you. The names are there. If you are interested, get it. So snap out of your cognitive dissonance and know that they are here to kill you. They are not your friends. Now, despite that, we are the second most populous continent, over 1 billion people. Despite the onslaught on our languages, We boast over 1,500 languages. I say over, they say 1,500. I say over, you know why? Because I'm sure they didn't count Isimpondo, they counted it as Xhosa. They didn't count Isibata, but it's Xhosa. Now how many of those are out there throughout the continent? Another thing we look like today is that we sit as Francophone, former French, Commonwealth, British, Lusophone, Portuguese, Italian, and Spanish colonization. By the way, it's not just terms, that's how our economies are divided. Nothing happens in Francophone unless Paris sneezes. Nothing happens here, don't fool yourselves. If London says no. He can't do jack, excuse my language, shit, unless London says yes. Now, that's our division. Then we have a further division called Maghreb and Sub-Saharan Africa. Maghreb really is Africa because Ubaba Uibege Kemet was African. Look guys, go and read Diop arguing against over 50 scientists at a conference that was called by UNESCO, proving to them that Kemet was African. They were so racist in treating him. I cry, Mangi Fundangit, I wish we were there to just support Diop. It was just him and Obenga from DRC, facing racist white people who were refusing that Kemet was African. Now, I don't know about refuse about shooting because we know they came here bazo colonizer. Now, Maghreb is an issue that we really must think about because I don't know if you know, the death of Gaddafi happens because of the Maghreb region of Africa. Because for those states, except Tunisia to a certain extent, for them, Gaddafi was more African than Arab. In fact, the first rebels who were funded by the West to topple Gaddafi are Libyans who are saying Gaddafi is closer to the AU than he is to the Maghreb community. Those same people today, the West is waking up as a shock that they are selling Africans as slaves. They invested in them knowing that they want to topple Gaddafi because it's a racist clique of Arabs who think an African is nothing but an infidel. So the Maghreb issue is on the table as we review what Nkrumah left to us as revolutionary warfare. We need to deal with the Maghreb now and forever. Because, by the way, I hope you know that Egypt is implicated in the giving away of all Gaza Strip and the rest. Egypt now, as it sits, it is not sure if it is African or not. In fact, for some of them, the greatest insult you can inflict on them is to call them an African. Now, let's deal with how were we before. The topic mailing is Kuze because it's in my thesis, so I must really speak very minimal so I can finish my talk. So I will do this by giving you just 2 stories to say what were we. There's a place in Mpumalanga. Each time I talk to people, I say Azania. Now I'm planting it with young people. And young people, if you plant something and they're convicted, I know they will make it happen. Can we arrange, please make sure, and the rest of the people who are here whose names I don't know, by Igama. We need to go to a place in Mpumalanga called Adam's Calendar.
Yes, we know as Michael
Inzalo Yelanga is the proper word. It was discovered accidentally by a white man, it was South African food, a plane. And then we are born to but guys, this was civilization. Cut a long story short, Inzalo Yelanga was a civilization that spread from Mpumalanga all the way up to Nairobi. Cognitive dissonance, believe it or disbelieve it. But now I'm telling you a fact that is written down. It had one entrance, one exit, high walled. They even tell you how high the wall was. It had a road leading from there straight into Botswana. Here's where I got excited. The images of the hawk, the birds they found in Inzalo Yelanga, angithi lezi abazenza as artifacts. Those hawks are the same ones as those found in Great Zimbabwe, the same ones as those found at the Pyramid of Giza. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The Pyramid of Giza, Great Zimbabwe, and Inzalo Yelanga all stand on the 33rd degree latitude on the Earth. That's us before they came. There's a woman, the one I said, Nyamtandu Saronia. Saronia come from a line of queens. They're just ruled by queens. They're called the Azna people. They are in Niger today. They try and convert them to Arabize them, Islam, Allah, ini. I can't see. How long? 10. Usaronia, their people are unconvertible. They refuse. They are African spiritualists. 1480 something, via figure, ama Portuguese, nama Spanish, via batshela about the Azania people. But not in a soba converter sabelung abasazga. They fail. The French come to colonize Niger. Cut a long story short, after heightened campaigns, reinforcer, finally they defeat the Azania people. They call a meeting because Saronia was a thorn in the flesh for them. They call Imbizo, village square, that's how we built, by the way, Dal. By the way, the archaeology of Africans, please go and look at it. So they call them to the village square, but okay, we are going to show you today, this is what dethrone your king. Saronia lends. She says, okay guys, Mpenji 10 minutes, Tina Sitik send where you consult your ancestors. Uti, give me 10 minutes, I'll come out on dethrone. Give me 10 minutes to consult with my ancestors. Cut a long story short, when the 10 minutes ended, the doors flung open. What came out? A black panther. And it walked merrily through the crowd. And it disappeared into the forest. They never dethroned her, they never killed her. So when today we show the power of the spirit by drinking ipetrol, please understand that in the African spirit world, it is real if you believe it and embrace it. It is real. But that is the science we have been turned against, and it's called demonic. Now, let's go to how did we come where we are today? Oh, quickly. What is an African? I love Mazrui. Umazrui uti, there's an African by soil and blood. That's us. Uti, there's an African by soil. You just happen to be born here. Now, we really need to start calling out Africans by soil. But they are not Africans. Life is in the blood. If you are not an African by blood, then you are not an African. Finish it. Now, how did we come here? Because we went through two processes called Arabization and Europeanization. Guys, has it crossed your mind that Islam, Christianity, in fact, the Bible religions, because Judaism, for you to embrace them, you have to stop being who you are. Are you aware? You have to be an African to be a Christian or to be a... That's why they rename you. If in the language you must speak Arabic, Arabic. Yes. That's why Abazalwane go Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nisi, because Abaskulumi Sisu, Ukuluma Hebrew. Yeah, so it. Now, another thing that we went through to put us where we are is the Berlin Conference. At the Berlin Conference, I was shocked when I was trying to prepare for the meeting. I was never aware that at Berlin Conference, America was invited. You know they were. They sat in. Do you know who else was invited? The Ottoman Empire. Guys, I said there are two races on earth, the rest are nations. Doesn't it strike you that these two races have already ran a slave trade on us, colonized us at different angles of the time? And that even in the Security Council today, they are there. They had to call China to sit there. I know we love them, but hey, they remain Mongoloid. They are not African. Now, the Ottoman Empire was called because that was the highlight of the Arabs at the time, to sit in at the Berlin Conference. They had a 5-meter map of Africa. No names, except 5 meters width and length. No names. What does that tell you? They had no intention of knowing this continent because the kingdoms were already there. My brother counted them, I don't need to. That map was there because they were clear that they are going to reinvent you and remodel you, which is what they've done. Now, what else happened for us to land here? When we started gaining the so-called independence, our leaders said we don't want to open the Pandora box. Asifuna ukuyele emuva, do away with the borders and whatever. My humble question is, why is it that history got reversed in Eastern Europe so quickly? So quickly. So quickly, but in Africa, no, you can't reverse history. And where they do reverse it like they've done in North Sudan and South Sudan, they get, our South Sudan is smaller than North Sudan. Yes. How does the settler get more land than the Aboriginal, than the indigenous people? Because they didn't use the land of our forefathers, they used the colonization map in the first place to do that. Oti Unkruma in the handbook, what else has happened to us to be where we are? We have agreed, we have put ourselves at a corner where we say Western parliamentary democracy and the political party system are the only way that we can be governed. Kanjani? Kanjani? How?
Yeah.
Secondly, we have allowed ourselves to be client states, and we call that post-colonialism. That's us now. We are not talking about the past, Hitler. We have allowed ourselves to get military support. Are you aware, as you and me sit here, how much foreign military is deploying in Africa, people? Africom, USA alone is taking over Francophone countries. I don't know what is your vuganini. Silwe nini, ngoba ma-Africa afuna uqoqa wafuna ukulwa. Asifuni ibhamu. We want to negotiate. They are not negotiating. The militaries are here. I thank Southern African countries because currently they are still saying no. Not in the West and in the East. These people are beginning to own. Africom, Neo-Cheka African, Yasa US, Yotongabala, France and the others. Another thing we have allowed to do is to live by aid or handouts.